Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to discuss just what is the best Pokemon card set to collect in 2024. Now, we've come out of, I guess, a golden era of Sword and Shield, and we've shifted over to Scarlet and Violet. Yes, there's still a little bit of Sword and Shield stuck on the shelves, and of course purchasable from online retail stores. Predominantly though, we have moved over to Scarlet and Violet. So that's essentially what we're going to look at. What is the best Scarlet and Violet set to collect? Now, there's been a touch of controversy from the changeover. There's some positives in my eyes from moving from Sword and Shield era to Scarlet and Violet era, and there's also some negatives. And look, that just comes with change. When things change, sometimes people go, whoa, that's different to what we know. Therefore, there's parts we do like and parts we don't like, and that just happens. But I think we can all agree, for the most part, that the collectability and the artwork of Scarlet and Violet so far has been top-notch. And arguably, if we compare set to set, from Sword and Shield to Scarlet and Violet, base set, Rebel Clash Paldea Evolved, Champions Path 151, etc., as we roll on through to where we are now, I think for the most part, everyone's going to argue that Scarlet and Violet has done a better job so far than what Sword and Shield did. I don't think that's really an argument. I think Scarlet and Violet is a standout. However, the latter half of Sword and Shield was absolutely phenomenal. So it's going to be interesting to see what the latter half of Scarlet and Violet brings. Before we jump into exactly what is the best set, though, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And if you want to become a channel member, that would be greatly appreciated. You can join up from the home screen. And when you are a member, you can shoot me any investing-related email that you like, and I'll get back to you in a timely manner. It also gives you a couple little cool, like not emojis, what do you call them? Like little handles on your name and your comments. So anyway, back to the topic at hand. So Scarlet and Violet has brought us some absolute belters. We've seen 151. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say this is the most collectible and best set, or most collectible set of Scarlet and Violet, because I feel like everyone's just going to say that. And I actually don't believe it is. However, it's an absolutely phenomenal holiday set. It brought so many people back into the hobby, both the English version and the Japanese version, with the one Master Ball per 20-pack booster box. They're just so fun to open. The English set, it has two of my favorite illustration rares / special illustration rares. It's got the Dragonair illustration rare, which is arguably one of my favorite illustration rares, and it's got my favorite special illustration rare so far from the whole Scarlet and Violet era, which is the Alakazam. I think that's an absolute belter. The whole set is an absolute belter. However, I don't think it's the most collectible set from Scarlet and Violet. So just what is, I guess, brings about the question. Scarlet and Violet also brought us another holiday set in Paldea Faults, which has a full shiny vault. You can collect cards like Charmander, Charmeleon, Pikachu. There's some Gen 1 fan favorites sitting inside there. We also have, Twilight Masquerade, currently the latest set, with the best or biggest, most expensive chase card from the Scarlet and Violet era so far in that beautiful Greninja. I actually really, really like this card. I know it's controversial. There's some people who go, it's just a mishmash of colors and I can't really make out the Pokemon. It's not for me, but personally, I really, really like it. And that's the great thing about artwork, isn't it? Like, it's perceivable based on what you like and what you don't like. So, we've had sets like that. And then we've also got this absolute banger of an illustration rare from Paradox Rift. Look at this Steelix. That is one hell of a good looking card. So the artwork has been phenomenal. There's two sets for me that come into the forefront when it comes to collectability and just, collecting a massive amount of illustration rares, whether it's, and putting it into a binder or special illustration rares. And there's two that really come into play for me so far from the Scarlet and Violet era. The first one's Temporal Forces. And the second one is Paldea Evolved. Now, my argument with these two sets is one has better special illustration rares and one has better illustration rares. So for me, if I look at Temporal Forces, it has some great illustration rares, but I think Paldea Evolves are better. It has, things like the Lickitung, that's a really nice looking card. The Ghastly, which includes, artwork of Gengar inside there. It has the Arbok, which I think is a really, really understated illustration rare. It has the Metagross, which is an absolute stunner as well. And then we move on to the special illustration rares inside Temporal Forces. The pull rates changed for these compared to, base set through to Obsidian Flames. They got more difficult. Like, we're almost at the stage of alternate art sort of hit rates from Sword and Shield era, which really started pumping up the price of some of these cards. In particular, you'll see it, of course, with the Greninja that I mentioned before. But we've got arts, special illustration rares like the Iron Crown and that Raging Bolt, which is the biggest chase card from the whole set. They're just really, really good looking Pokemon cards. And of course, the special illustration rares get that texture in them or on them, which make them even nicer looking. Having said that though, I think Paldea Evolved has the bigger array of illustration rares and nicer illustration rares. I don't think it's got as nice special illustration rares. Like maybe, there's the Chen Pao, if I pronounce this correct, the Charizard of the new gen, Skeledridge, Dirge, whatever, however you want to pronounce it. But the illustration rares are just phenomenal from Paldea Evolved. And for that reason, I think Paldea Evolved is the most collectible set so far from Scarlet and Violet era. Just have a look at some of the artworks and the illustration rares, and pulling any individual or any one illustration rare actually has really high pull rates. So, there's things like Heracross, which is, a great looking Pokemon card. The Tropius even. Marill just floating there with his tail in the water. The Sleeping Raichu, which everyone loves. And I think is that the second most expensive or third most expensive? I think it's the third most expensive card from the set now. That's been holding its value really, really well. The Paldean Tauros, I really like that card. That is one that I have pulled. And the Magikarp. We'll get onto that though. The Sudowoodo, of course, like if you grew up with Gen 1, 2, 3, or 4, like there's a lot of those sort of Pokemon chilling inside Paldea Evolved. And then, of course, the big hitter, which also has a Gyarados chilling on the top of the card, is that Magikarp. That is just a stunning Pokemon card. It deserves the increase in price that it saw, because typically when Pokemon cards come out, they start here, they dip down, and then occasionally, they'll grind their way back up. Well, for the most part, they'll grind their way back up. Magikarp almost did the opposite. Like, it's had an early rise up in value, and it deserves it. So I guess for that reason, for me, the most collectible set so far throughout the whole Scarlet and Violet era has to be Paldea Evolved. I think, getting a full binder set of Paldea Evolved with, every single main card in a reverse foil through all the illustration rares and through all the special illustration rares, it is just the most collectible set in my eyes. Particularly, and I think it's due to the number, the popularity of the Pokemon, and the artwork that comes in all those illustration rares. What would have really topped Paldea Evolved off and made it, in my eyes, go from a B+ set to maybe either an A tier set or an S tier set would be having like a banger of a special illustration rare. Something like the Greninja that's in Twilight Masquerade. Like if Paldea Evolved had a $200 or $300 US, let's say $300 US chase card, it would have just really risen the overall prestige of the set up even further. For me though, it's a B+ set. It's quite a strong Pokemon card set, and it's hugely, hugely collectible in my eyes. Give me a comment down below though. What do you think is the most collectible Pokemon card set for 2024? What are you digging your teeth into? What do you think Scarlet and Violet's offered us up so far? What is the best set to collect from the whole Scarlet and Violet era? I'm Michael, this is PokeOz, and I'll catch everyone next time.